Hey friends, I'm back with another YouTube video, and in this YouTube video we are going to learn how to paint this composition. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. For this composition, I'm going to use these two brushes, which is Silver Black Velvet round size 10 and the same in size 6. These are one of the most favorite brushes of all the watercolor artists I know. And the colors that I'm using is my Roman Chismal palette. Actually, the colors are Roman Chismal, but the palette is from White Nights, Neverskaya Palitra. And I absolutely love this palette. It is having a lot of colors and I barely use this palette just because the colors are very hard to get. Anyways, getting back to the painting, this here will be most probably my mixing area. I will also use some napkins, and the paper that I am using is Chitrapat 100% cotton watercolor paper in rough texture and 440 GSM. So I will be most probably explaining each and everything, but if you have any question, you can just let me know in the comment section. So I'm gonna start with using this around size 10 brush and going to pick up some red color. I do not have the swatch card in front of me, so most probably I won't be saying the actual name of the colors, maybe like red, blues, dark blue, and we'll be saying the names which I'm familiar with. So I'm taking very watery consistency of this red color and I'm going to paint a petal flower. I'm painting the petal, and then the other petal have to pick up some more color, a little consistency of the color. So you can see I'm alternatively changing and reducing the consistency of the color. Then I'm moving to the other petal and now rinsing out some color. And now what you can do is, if you are feeling that you should add more color, you can just go and drop more color where you want it. Usually I do not do this step, but you can do it if you want to. And then let it spread like in wet and wet technique. Now I am going to move to paint another same flower, but it will be in kind of bluish color. So I'm going to pick Cobalt Blue Deep, which is PB72. It is a lovely color. It is really granulating. I'm painting the same flower. Maybe you can vary the size depending upon you if you want to, if you don't want to. However, you have planned the composition to work out. If the colors are bleeding in each other in the different flowers, it is completely fine. It is property of watercolors to flow and it looks really good. And what I can do is I can take this brush, the smaller size, and I am taking some sap green and painting these thin strokes in the center part of the flower. Here we go. So I'm done with the two flowers, and the third flower that I'm going to put is a rose for sure. And now I'm going to take a pinkish tone, maybe it's a Quinacridone rose, which is PV19 most probably, because that is one of my favorite color. So I'm gonna place a rose over here. So I'm gonna start from the center part. There is also a dedicated video on the rose, so you can go and check it out. So I'm going to start with painting the C strokes around the center part. And now I'm going to take another brush which is loaded with clean water, and now I can just bleed the color. You don't necessarily have to use two brushes. You can paint it with just one brush. It is like, if you have just one brush, then you can just paint the C strokes, then rinse out the color, then paint with the clean water, and then again back and forth doing this process. And now I'm going to increase the size of this rose flower. I'm going to pick up more of the color. And now I'm going to repeat the same step, going back, putting the strokes with the clean water. And your aim is to achieve an overall circular shape with the flower. Also, the other thing that you have to notice is that I am painting this in such a manner that the flowers are appearing to be joining. So now what I can also place a rose over here, because I don't want two roses to be adjoining with each other. I will be placing another flower over here. So now I'm going to pick up some maybe the same red color which I used earlier in this flower. I'm going to paint a rose. You can also change the size of the flower, completely up to you. You know, you just have to play with the components. You can play with the colors, size, strokes. Just try to experiment with different stuff. Now taking the other brush, and now I'm going back, picking up the color. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a bunch of hydrangeas over here. That's why I placed the rose in such a manner that I can place the hydrangeas over here. So for that I'm going to use a shade of purple. Putting a very small multiple strokes. These are petal strokes which I am placing. You can place them randomly, you can make a flower out of them and then place it in a bunch, completely up to you. And now I am going to do the exact same thing on the other part of the flower. I am going to place few of the hydrangeas over here and few of them over here. You can see it is a really lovely granulating color. I really love the granulation. And if you do, just let me know in the comment section. Alright, so I am done with the base layer of the structure that I have formed already. So what you can do is now you can layer the color. So I'm going to take a little bit thicker color of the same color that we have used previously, just a little bit thicker. And now we are going to repeat the strokes. So you can see we have used the C stroke in the rose. I'm just going to repeat it on the rose. I'm leaving a lot of space in between these strokes. So this will kind of give a lot of contrast, interest. Basically this shows the shadow and the light part of the flower. Also you can give some boundary to the flower. And you can see it came out to be really good. Also sometimes what I like to do, I just rinse out the color. With the clean brush, I just like to smoothen the edges, but not for all the strokes, only for the few strokes. So I'm done over here and now I'm going to move to the other rose, which is over here. Also allow the first layer to dry, because this won't work if your first layer is already wet. Now I'm going to move to this petal flower. You don't have to paint really fast. What you can do is you can pause the video, paint and then play. Just paint with your speed, whatever you are comfortable with. For this you can see I need to take a little bit of saturated color. So I'm going to use Cobalt Blue Deep 74, PB74. You can see it is a little bit dark. rinse out the color, use the plain brush to smoothen the edges. If you won't smoothen the edges, it is also completely fine. So now it is the turn of the first flower. I kept it waiting for till the last because the paper was still wet, and it is also still wet right now, but anyways I'm going to move. So you can see the color will just bleed, but it is completely fine. Go back, you can sometimes just smoothen them, sometimes you can avoid smoothing it, it is completely fine. So now it is turn of these flowers, these hydrangeas. I'm going to pick up some darker tone of the purple, and now I'm going to paint exact same strokes randomly. So basically we are doing layering. You can see here the paper was still wet, but still I went with the second layer. And I'm really happy with the flower part of the composition. Maybe I will detail this one flower a little bit because it is standing not good or very saturated. So for the meantime, what I'm going to do, I'm gonna pick up some sap green from the palette, and then I'm going to put the leaves in this composition. Sap green is my favorite shade of green. Absolutely amazing. Also, what I like to do, I just go back and put some of these stems in between. This represent that the flowers are connected to each other, not just floating in the air. This is something that I also teach in my workshops. So I'm gonna put few leaves here and there, few over here, and few over here. I also have a dedicated video for the leaves, so if you have any question, you can just go and check it out over there, or you can also ask me stuff in the comment section. I would love to answer them. So you don't only have to paint one kind of leaves. Now I'm going to shift to the other kind of leaf. I'm going to also shift the color. I'm going to use a darker shade of green. These leaves kind of act as a filler leaves. And now I'm going back to the flowers because like I said earlier, that I need to do a little bit of detailing in this flower. So I'm going to pick up a little bit more darker shade. And I'm done. So another thing that I really want to share with you guys in this composition is while your leaves are wet, you can also go back, take some dark color of the green and drop it in the wet leaves, so it will just merge. Right now my leaves are not very wet, so it won't work very well. Also, if your leaves are already dried, you can just go with the darker shade and put 1 or 2 strokes, just showing, representing the shadow and the light part of the leaves. And guys, I'm done with the composition. I hope you really liked it, and if you did, leave a like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube video.